All right, so let's learn about perimeter and area. We're going to start out with some fairly basic examples here. These ones you can just count. So if we were going to try and find the perimeter, you would just count, let's see the sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sides. So we'd have 10 as our perimeter. Now if each of these blocks is a centimeter by a centimeter, we would have a perimeter of 10 centimeters, right? Because we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So to go all the way around, you'd have to go 10 centimeters. Now, what I think of for perimeter is if this shape was your yard, how much fence would you need? That's really what it is when you're asked for perimeter. Now, the area is a little bit different. The area is how many total blocks there are in your yard. So let's see if we count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 blocks in that shape. Now if each block is a centimeter by a centimeter, we're going to have 6 centimeters squared, right? Because we have 6 square centimeters in the area of this block. Now let's try this one. So let's look for the perimeter first. Let's see, let's start here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So perimeter is going to equal 14 centimeters. And the area is just going to be how many blocks there are. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 blocks. So there's going to be 7 centimeters squared because there's 7 square centimeter blocks. Now, in your handout, you have this sheet, right? You have all these area formulas, and I'm going to show you how to use a few of them. You have all the area and perimeter formulas. They're fairly basic, so all you have to do is look at the picture and you can see, okay, well this one's the length measurement and this one's the width measurement. So when I look for the perimeter, I'm going to go 2 times the length plus the width. So let's try that. So we're going to do perimeter first. We're going to, let's see, it's a rectangle, so we're going to go 2 times the length plus the width, which is just 2 times 28 plus 16, which is just equal to 2 times 44, which is equal to 88 feet. So that's the perimeter. So if you had to walk around the outside of here, you'd have to walk 88 feet to get all the way around. Now the area for a rectangle, we can look at our formula here. Our area is equal to the length times the width. And we know that this is the length and this is the width. So our area is going to equal 28 times 16. And in fact, it doesn't matter which order you multiply these in, because with the multiplying numbers, you can switch them around. It'll still be the same result. But 28 times 16 is 448 feet squared. Okay, area is always the unit squared. So that's how many square blocks, square foot blocks there are in this one big rectangle. That's what area means. And yes, you can have half of a block, and we'll probably see that in some further questions. So let's try this one. So let's do perimeter first. So perimeter of a triangle is A plus B plus C. Now that's just kind of a fancy way of just saying add up all the sides, right? If this was your yard, how much fence would you need? Well, we just add up all the sides, so we're just going to get 32 plus 40 plus 24, and that just equals 96 meters, right? So to walk all the way around here, it's going to be 96 meters. Now the area is a little bit different in this one. It's 1/2 times the base times the height. So our area is going to equal 1/2. And let's take a look here. Our base is the very bottom of the triangle. Okay, it's the flat edge. So we're going to go with 32 because that's our base. 32 times, and this dot is just another way of saying times, our height. So in this one, we have a little bit of a different triangle, but the height we can see is just the overall from the lowest point to the highest point. So from the lowest point to the highest point of this triangle is going to be 24 meters. So 24. So area is going to equal, let's see, 32 times 24 is 768. So we have 768 times 1/2. So 1/2 of 768 is just equal to, let's see, 1/2 of 768 is just 384 meters squared. So see, our area is still squared. So that's how many meter boxes you could fit inside this triangle. Now let's try question C. So let's take a look first at the perimeter. So the perimeter is just equal to, and let's look at our formula, 2 times a plus b. Now alternately, you could just add up all the sides and you would be right. This is just another way to get there. So it's 2 times a, which is this side here, 8 plus, and b on our diagram is the bottom, so it would be 5. So our perimeter is equal to 2 times 13, which is equal to 26. And our units would be inches, because that's how far it is, and that's the unit that it's in. Our area is just equal to base times the height, which is just equal to, let's see, b and h. So b is the very bottom, so we know that that's going to be 5 times, and let's see what h is. H is the overall height. So if we look here, we can see that it's going to be 7. It's drawn a little bit differently, right? The one in the diagram is drawn inside, but really all we're looking for is the overall height. So that's times 7. We wouldn't use this slant height because, as you can see, it's actually farther than the overall height because of the slant. So we really need to make sure and be careful that we use the overall height, not the slant height. So 5 times 7 is just 35 inches squared. Now let's try a trapezoid. Let's take a look here. And you should have all these formulas in your handout already printed out. So you should be good. You should be able to look at here and see, okay, well, that's a trapezoid. Our perimeter is the same exact kind of method as we used before, right? It's just how far would you have to walk if you walked all the way around. So as you can see, there's a formula here, but that formula doesn't really matter because all you have to do is add up all the sides, right? That's all that formula is saying. So you don't need to, get all worried about finding the perimeter. It's actually one of the easiest things to do. All you have to do is add up all the sides. So let's add up 1.9 plus 3.1 plus 1.7 plus 1.1, and that's going to equal, let's see here, 7.8 meters. Okay, so now let's find the area. So the area of a trapezoid, and the area formulas are the ones you do really need to look at because they always change. So we're going to have a plus b times the height divided by 2. So what it is these two sides that are parallel added together on the top, a plus b, a plus b. It doesn't actually matter what order you put them in because a plus b, 2 plus 1, is the same thing as 1 plus 2, right? So it doesn't matter if you do the 2 first or the 1 first. So all you need to do is make sure that you have both the parallel sides added together. So we're going to take a look here, and our parallel sides are the ones that are running next to each other, right, in the same direction. We have 1.1 plus 3.1, so 1.1 plus 3.1 times the height. So the height was the distance between those two parallel lines. So our distance here is going to be 1.5, and it's all divided by 2. Now if you notice, I don't write the units in here because I know everything's in meters. So all I have to do is at the very end, I can write the units. So if you work that out on your calculator, and I'm going to go down here, you're going to get 1.1 plus 3.1 is just 4.2 times 1.5, right? It's very important you simplify what's inside the brackets before you multiply, right? 4.2 times 1.5 divided by 2, which is just equal to 6.3 divided by 2, which is equal to 3.2 meters squared, right? Because it's an area, so it's always the unit squared. Now, this is rounded, and I rounded it because the numbers we're given only have one decimal place. So our answer should be rounded to the same number of significant figures. Now, circles are the only one where you can't really just add up all the sides and find the perimeter. You actually have a formula. You have two formulas that you can use. The first formula is pi times d. And d stands for the diameter. And the diameter is all the way across the circle. So all the way across is the diameter. So we're actually given that measurement, right? We can calculate it. We can say P is equal to pi times 4.8. P is equal to, and if you use the pi button on your calculator, we get 15.1 centimeters. Now, if you haven't seen the number pi before, or if you forget what it is, if you don't have a pi button, you can just use 3.14. That's an approximate version of pi, and you won't get this exact answer, but for our methods that will be good enough if you don't have a pi button. If you do have a pi button, you really do need to use that. The other way to calculate the perimeter is 2 times pi times r, where r is the radius. The radius of a circle is just from the center to the edge. Okay, so that's the radius, and in green is the diameter. So if we're working with the radius, let's see here, we can say perimeter is equal to 2 times pi, right? We know what both those numbers are. And the radius is going to be half of this. So half of 4.8 is going to be, well, why don't I write it out? 4.8 divided by 2. So perimeter is going to equal 2 pi times 2.4, right? 4.8 divided by 2 is 2.4. And then we're just going to get the perimeter is equal to 15.1 centimeters. And that's what we got in the first question, right? It makes sense. These are just two different ways. So if you're given the radius, if you're only given halfway across the circle in the first place, this formula is easier to use. If you're given the diameter all the way across, this formula is easier to use. But I mean, either way, they're pretty easy because to go from radius to diameter, you just have to multiply by 2, and the other way, you just have to divide by 2 to get the radius. Now, the one thing that we haven't done yet is we haven't found the area of this circle. So the area formula is equal to pi times r squared. So let's give it a shot here. So we know what pi is, and what's r? R is from the center to the edge. We know all the way across, we're going to have to take 4.8 divided by 2 and square that. So that's pi times 2.4 squared, which is just equal to 18.1 centimeters squared. And that is the area of this circle. So that's how many square centimeter blocks would fit inside this circle. I can't emphasize that enough. This actually means, and that's why we put the units, that there's 18.1 centimeter square blocks inside that would fit inside this circle.